Hello, this is Dr. Dan. I'm excited to talk to you about the topic of quoting and paraphrasing. And the reason why I'm excited to talk to you about this topic is because it's one that impacts you throughout your entire program. And if I can help you in any area, this would be in probably my top two or three. The reason why is, first off, let's cover the easier topic of quoting, and then we will cover paraphrasing, which perhaps is somewhat the most challenging for students. First off, quoting. My general rule would be just don't do it. Don't find information and copy it word for word, put it in quotes, cite it, and think that you've done something that is going to help with your education, because it is my personal belief that it really will not. All you are doing is taking some information, copying it, even if you cite it properly, and then move on. What have you really learned from it? Not a whole heck of a lot. The only time you should really quote some information is, let's say, for instance, someone famous had sort of an infamous type of quote, so you can't change it. Maybe there's a definition out there that it cannot be changed. It has to be quoted just the way it is. However, even with definitions, which you will learn more about, especially we've discussed here in this class a little bit operational definitions and so on, even those, if anything, can be paraphrased, so which we'll talk about in a moment. So quoting, just don't do it. I wrote probably well over 1,000 pages during my doctoral program of material and discussions and papers and so on, and I do not recall quoting, I don't recall any at all, but I probably quoted 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 times throughout all of those papers. Again, there is no reason to quote information. Now, keep in mind, you should understand how to quote information, so when you do it, you do not plagiarize. But what I'm suggesting is just do not quote information. Do not put the information in your own words. Now, let's talk about paraphrasing. So what does paraphrasing mean? I would say this is one of the bigger challenges for you, because when you're reading information, especially something that's foreign to you, that's very new, that's difficult to understand, many times it's difficult to put that information in your own words. But you have to try. Again, that you don't, if you quote the information, that's not going to help you learn. You have to read it, understand it, try to comprehend what you're learning, perhaps reread it, and then put it in your own words. Many times, again, especially for complex topics, perhaps in a statistics course or a research methods class, you may be paraphrasing a bit more than you normally would. So again, it's important to understand how to paraphrase and the differences between paraphrasing and quoting. Again, you're not quoting information word for word. When you're paraphrasing, you are reading the information, taking it and putting it in your own words, but basically saying the sort of the same thing as the author did. This helps with your learning because now you have to think about it and use different words and so on. This also, I would say, try to limit the amount of information you paraphrase. Now, with that said, I understand it can be very difficult, again, especially for challenging topics. However, when should you not paraphrase? Well, as an example, if you did an article critique, and let's say you read a 15 or 20 page article and you summarize that article in one paragraph, well, there's no reason you should be paraphrasing everything. You read the article, you understand it, and basically you just summarize it, the information that was in the article. So that would be probably a very good example of where there's really no need to paraphrase. Finally, I'll tell you that as you're going throughout your program, I would encourage you to lean on the safe side when it comes to citing sources. In other words, if you're not sure if you've paraphrased or if you've explained enough in your own words, then cite the source you got the information from. We will talk much more in the weeks to come about some different methods of citing sources in text that can at least help the reader understand where the information came from, and that you are making sincere attempts of giving credit where credit is due and not making it seem like that the information comes from your own knowledge. So again, in summary, quoting and paraphrasing, as you continue to learn about those concepts, just keep in mind that we are teaching you how to quote information, so you learn that using APA style, but limit your quotes. Some classes that I teach, I tell students I don't want to see any quotes throughout the entire class because really they're not needed for the material. And then finally, paraphrasing can be challenging. You will learn more and more about how to paraphrase as you go, and you will learn techniques that will help your writing style. In the short term, just understand that you should be giving credit where credit is due, and that will keep you out of trouble, so that way you're not perhaps even just simply accidentally plagiarizing material and in turn suffer maybe a poor grade as a result or something. So thank you again. It's wonderful chatting with you here about quoting and paraphrasing, and I look forward to our next conversation.